Welcome to Poetry with Shing, where you uncover the beauty behind poetry. So today's poem is a special one because one of our subscribers or one of our commenters have commented on the previous video requesting for me to review this poem at the theatre, To the Lady Behind Me by A.P. Herbert. So to start off, I will be reading the poem. Dear Madam, you have seen this play. I never saw it until today. You know the details of the plot, but let me tell you, I do not. The author seeks to keep from me the murderer's identity. And you are not a friend of his if you keep shouting who it is. The actors, in their funny way, have several funny things to say, but they do not amuse me more if you have said them just before. The merit of the drama lies, I understand, in some surprise. But the surprise must now be small, since you have just foretold it all. The lady you have brought with you is, I infer, a half-wit too, but I can understand the piece without assistance from your niece. In short, foul woman, it would suit me just as well if you were mute. In fact, to make my meaning plain, I trust you will not speak again. And may I add one human touch? Don't breathe upon my neck so much. So first, we'll be going into the poem in three-pronged approach. So the first one would be about form, and then followed by language, and finally style. So my first observation about form is that it has a rhyme scheme. So it has an A-A-B-B rhyme scheme, which is shown through the use of rhyming words like play, today, plot, and not. So it adds a whimsical tone to the piece, and I think it also shows some kind of rhythm. And perhaps signals some kind of repetitiveness of the lady's annoying habits of, like, for example, spoiling the play for A.P. Herbert. Because this rhyme scheme also sounds like a nursery rhyme to a certain extent, because it mirrors the way nursery rhymes rhyme, it might also suggest some kind of annoyance or some kind of disjoint between the A.P. Herbert and his experience, because he's annoyed by the lady behind him, and at the same time he feels that because of this lady, his experience isn't what he wanted it to be, which is similar to how perhaps adults view nursery rhymes, in the sense that adults feel kind of annoyed, or perhaps like sometimes they treat nursery rhymes in a way that they think it's too childish for them. And as for the disjointed part, it would be how nursery rhymes belong to younger people, like toddlers and children, whereas the adults seem to perceive the nursery rhymes as far-fetched or like far away from where they are at in life. Furthermore, the second thing about form I can pick out is that it is only one stanza, so like there are no different stanzas in this entire poem, which I link to the idea of how A.P. Herbert seems to be ranting about his bad experience, which further implies his annoyance and perhaps his call to action to readers that you shouldn't be a bad audience or like an inconsiderate audience in a play or whenever you're out in public, perhaps. Now, moving on to language, I can say that this writer uses quite a few imagery. For example, the author seeks to keep me from the murderer's identity, and you are not a friend of his if you keep shouting who it is. So I feel that this is like an anecdote, a real experience that A.P. Herbert is bringing out from his play-going experience. And this anecdote is while it is humorous, it also belies his criticisms towards the lady behind him, in the sense that he uses a critical tone but he underlies it with humor to make this poem seem more lighthearted, but in actuality he is ranting. And I find this anecdote quite interesting because he says like the author seeks to keep A.P. Herbert from the murderer's identity, but the lady is not a friend of his if you keep shouting who it is. So he's using he brings you closer to the entire experience because of the words like friend and also you, which adds a more personal dimension to the experience and makes readers relate to it better. And I feel it's also quite funny at the same time. And I feel that it's quite clever of A.P. Herbert to criticize the lady in such anecdotal manner, in such anecdotal ways, because there are still other anecdotes in the rest of the poem. Another thing about language would be this idea about a half-wit. So he doesn't really say outrightly that the lady is inconsiderate, but he brings it through for the readers to inference when he says, I infer a half-wit too. So the lady you have brought with you is also a half-wit. Because of the use of too, it highlights how the lady behind him is also in a way a half-wit. So it once again goes back to how he's able to use humor to criticize people at the same time. There is some kind of sarcasm, I feel, also in these lines, which is quite iconic of this poem in his criticisms. As the poem progresses also, which can be something noted in language, so another one would be the use of anecdotes. The second one would be his use of sarcasm and humor. And the last one would be his use of progression. So at the start of the poem, he doesn't really say outrightly that he doesn't like this woman, he doesn't like this lady, but as the poem progresses, you realize that he starts throwing out words like half-wit, foul woman, and then towards the end, in fact, to make my meaning plain, I trust you will not speak again. So this use of progression also highlights his increasing annoyance and frustration towards the lady. And also highlights at the same time perhaps his reflection that humans may be like quite impatient sometimes, because the greater notion would be how emotions or feelings when pent up start to intensify. So like in a way emotions intensify. Okay, and then one last thing would be this. And may I add one human touch, don't breathe upon my neck so much. So I feel that this is quite ironic in a sense, because he says, may I add one human touch? And with this use of human, I don't quite understand why he uses it. So if you have any idea, do write it down in the comments below. That is all for today's poem, and if you would like any other poem to be analysed, type down the name of the poem and poet in the comments below. See you!